Today's video is a head-to-head between two Quasar LITE aircraft, each one powered by a different motor. We've never tested the Quasar LITE, so our mission today is twofold: showing the airplane and comparing the two versions, one equipped with a Jabiru 2200 of 80 horsepower and one with a Rotax 912S of 100 horsepower. Let's go. The Quasar LITE is a low-wing two-seater designed and built in Brazil. The airplane is the result of a lifelong partnership between two aeronautical engineers, Omar Pugliese and James Waterhouse, who went to school together and later became responsible for h2h, the company that produces the Quasar. Unlike many aircraft available in Brazil, the Quasar is not a kit imported and assembled in the country. Apart from the power plant and avionics, it is entirely designed, built and assembled in Brazil, in the city of Franca. First flight happened in 2006, and in 2008 the first units were delivered to customers. The Quasar LITE remains in production today, and similarly to what occurs when buying a Rolls-Royce or an executive jet, for example, the factory customizes each unit according to the buyer's preferences. That's why every unit has a unique set of options, ranging from different power plants to customized seat cushion thickness, or even a choice of fuselage material, which can be of fiberglass or carbon fiber. Build quality, whatever the specs chosen, is exceptional. The fuselage has been tested for crashworthiness, both theoretically and practically. The Quasar LITE's wings are made of metal. They are 31 feet 2 inches long and have a high aspect ratio. The airplane has a curvy fuselage, optimized for aerodynamic cleanness, and is 18 feet long. The company h2h also builds the Quasar Fast, with shorter wings and more powerful engine options. The Quasar Fast is not the subject of this report. The Quasar has a tip-up canopy. There's a lock that keeps it opened. The landing gear are strong and can withstand a beating, as we saw during our testing, partially performed from a farm strip. The baggage compartment is under the seats. You can fit 2 small bags in it, and that's all. For this video, we flew a 2010 Quasar LITE with a carbon fuselage, equipped with a 100 horsepower Rotax 912S, and a 2012 Quasar LITE with a fiberglass fuselage, equipped with an 80 horsepower Jabiru 2200. Let's have a look at these engines. The Rotax 912S is from Austria. It's a 4-cylinder aspirated boxer engine developing 100 horses at 5,800 RPM. It has a reduction gearbox with 2.43:1 ratio. So, in cruise, while the engine is turning 5,000 RPM, for example, the prop is only spinning at 2,057 RPM. This way, both the engine and the propeller are at ideal speeds. Cooling in the Rotax 912S is accomplished through a combined air and liquid system, with the cylinder heads being liquid-cooled, while the cylinder bodies are air-cooled. The engine has a 1.352 liters displacement, and it's equipped with 2 synchronized carburetors. The Jabiru 2200 is from Australia. It's a 4-cylinder aspirated boxer engine as well, and it produces 80 horsepower at 3,300 RPM. It's a direct drive engine, so the prop and the crankshaft both spin at the same RPM, similarly to traditional Lycoming and Continental engines. This reduces the number of parts and consequently the mass of the engine. The Jabiru is air-cooled, and it's a 2.2 liters engine. Our Rotax powered Quasar is equipped with a 3-bladed warp drive ground adjustable prop. The Jabiru powered Quasar has a beautiful 2-bladed Sensonic prop, also ground adjustable. The Jabiru Quasar has a 25-gallon fuel capacity, 12.5 on each wing. The Rotax powered airplane has the factory optional large fuel tanks that hold 37 gallons, 18.5 each side. Fuel is drained via drain valves under the wings. There's an inspection door on the cowling, through which oil level is checked. The Jabiru engine has access to the dipstick through this small cap. When checking the oil in the Rotax, a false low quantity indication might occur at first, because the engine has a dry sump and the oil tends to hide in the system. When this happens, you manually spin the prop in the normal direction of operation, making the cylinder's compression pump the oil back to the reservoir until this gurgling sound is heard. And then check the oil quantity again. Okay, let's get inside. The interior finish on both airplanes we tested is quite good, and the seats are not uncomfortable. There's not a lot of room though. Our 6'1" pilot had to keep his head tilted the whole time with the canopy closed. However, as we mentioned before, seat cushion thickness can be adjusted by the manufacturer, and even the panel height can be modified, allowing taller people to fit properly. In terms of shoulder room, the airplane is not tighter than what's normal for this category. The Quasar has sticks, and you fly it with your left hand when seated on the left. The throttle lever, of the vernier type, is located in the center. Flaps are mechanically actuated through this very nice, sturdy lever between the seats. Elevator and aileron trim are electrically controlled through these buttons on top of the stick. The fuel selector has precise gates and offers left, right, and off positions. Aircraft equipped with a bubble canopy offer great visibility, but also allow a lot of insulation, which can generate a greenhouse effect in the cockpit. The Quasar, designed in sunny Brazil, has permanent sunshades incorporated to the canopy, offering good visibility while protecting the occupants from too much sun incidents. For our comparison, we'll fly the Jabiru powered Quasar first. The Jabiru 2200 engine weighs a few kilos less than the Rotax 912S, according to the manufacturers. But since the carbon fiber fuselage in the Rotax powered airplane we flew is a bit lighter than the fiberglass fuselage in the Jabiru powered plane depicted here, both planes have basically equivalent masses. For both flights, we had around 15 gallons of fuel and 2 adults on board. The flights were performed in sequence, with temperature and wind conditions practically unchanged. Clear prop! The Jabiru starts right away and has a nice low sound. Engine checks are performed at 2000 RPMs. This engine requires constant attention to temperatures. Aeroalco, the company behind the Quasar, developed special cooling baffles for the Jabiru, which enable the operation and contribute to the longevity of the engine. The nose gear is linked to the pedals, and the airplane has toe brakes on both sides. The day we flew, the temperature was 91 Fahrenheit and winds were light. The 80 horsepower Jabiru equipped Quasar needed 1,000 feet for takeoff. During climb, we kept 80 miles per hour indicated airspeed at full power, until the CHTs reached 210 Celsius. Then we had to slightly reduce power and increase IAS so that the temperature would not exceed the maximum value. We saw around 500 feet per minute average rate of climb until reaching our 4,500 feet cruising altitude. There, we adjusted 2,800 RPMs. This power setting provides good engine performance and avoids overly high temperatures. The IAS indicator on the Jabiru-powered Quasar we flew was a bit too optimistic, so we resorted to a less inaccurate way of determining our true airspeed. We used the GPS to fly 4 different tracks: north, east, south and west, maintaining altitude and power setting, and recorded our ground speed on each track. The arithmetic mean of these 4 ground speeds is a value close enough to our true airspeed. It's not perfectly precise, but it's close at this speed range. Flying track north, our GS was 88 knots. Tracking east, we saw 98.3 knots. Flying south, our ground speed was 105 knots. And flying track west, the GPS showed 80.1 knots. Our average speed was 92.85 knots. The Australian engine was burning around 16.5 liters, 4.3 gallons an hour at that power setting. This means that for each liter of fuel burned, the Quasar Jabiru was developing 5.62 knots, one of the most efficient airplanes we tested so far. Now let's fly the Rotax powered Quasar. Clear prop! The Austrian engine also starts promptly, making its characteristic buzzing sound. The 100 horsepower Rotax powered Quasar needed 900 feet for takeoff, 10% less than his 80 horsepower brother. All 4-stroke Rotax engines have a very efficient cooling system, and we were able to climb to our cruise altitude without ever reducing power, which was kept at full. Indicating 80 miles per hour, our rate of climb averaged 850 feet per minute. Now let's have a look at our cruise numbers. This Quasar is equipped with Dynon Skyview screens that calculate true airspeed instantaneously. Maintaining 5,200 RPMs, our true airspeed was 108 knots, 15 knots faster than the Jabiru-powered airplane. At this power setting, our fuel consumption was 22 liters an hour, 5.8 gallons, thus delivering 4.9 knots per liter of fuel burned. Not bad, but 15% less efficient than the airplane with the Jabiru. Flying with wide open throttle, which is possible on the Rotax since it keeps all temps in the green, we saw 113 knots true. Not surprisingly, the airplane with more power had better performance overall. Our tests took into consideration the real-world operation of the airplanes. That is, the Rotax offers greater flexibility. You can dial in full power and not worry about the engine being too hot. The Jabiru engine, even with the effective special bafflings installed by Aeroalco, remains temperature limited, and on very hot days, like we experienced when testing these airplanes, it does not allow the pilot to use all the power available continuously. On the other hand, the Jabiru could make the Quasar fly faster per amount of fuel burned. It's a frugal little engine on a very slick little airplane. 93 knots on 4.3 gallons are interesting numbers indeed. As for the Quasar LITE, we were able to appreciate the aerodynamic elegance of the bird with any of the two engines. Control forces are light, notably in pitch, but even at low speeds, it is tame and predictable. In the traffic pattern, the airplane could even use speed brakes. The long, slender wings produce a great deal of lift. And because it sits low on the ground, any excess speed on short final will be transformed into floating when over the runway. The Quasar enters ground effect, and it wants to keep flying. All this is easily manageable, the flaps are quite effective, and the airplane slips well. Besides, it's hard to criticize an airplane because it wants to fly, right? Be it with the Austrian or the Australian engine, this little Brazilian shines. In the battle between Jabiru and Rotax, the Quasar LITE wins.